Hi everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of XCA ByteCast, a series of bite-sized tips and tricks that can be implemented into any of your projects. In this episode, we're going to learn on how to use SwiftUI Task Modifier to fetch data from remote API in SwiftUI-based application. We will be focusing on the life cycle of the task modifier, such as fetching the data before the view appears and refreshing the data when a specific value changes. To begin, you can download the starter project from the GitHub repository at the description below. So let me guide you through the starter project. So here we have the store, which is the using observable framework, and here it's a class, and if you see in here we have the property of state, which is actually a representation of the UI based on four cases. So here we have idle, loading, success, and error. Okay, there are several computed properties to get the value, okay, such as the data, which is generic. Coming back to the store, here we have the API to fetch the articles, and there's one fetch method which is async. So here it will basically set the state to loading, so it can show the progress view in the UI, and then in the do try catch block we get the articles by invoking the try await on the API fetch articles. After that, we have the cooperative cancellation by checking the task check cancellation. Okay, and finally we set the state to success, passing the articles for the data. And then in the catch, if the error is cancellation error, then we just turn. Otherwise, we set the state with the error case passing the error, so it can be shown in the UI. Okay, so for the data, we have the article, which represent a news article. There are two properties, title and description, and the API itself. So I'm just using a stubs articles in here. And for fetching the articles, we just simulate the invocation to a remote API by using task.sleep, using this random value between 300 and 600 milliseconds. And then we just shuffle the data. And let me show you the UI content view. Here we have the stat property for the store. And in the body, we just have a list that will show the articles here inside a section if the data exists. And this is the UI, as you can see. And we also have an overlay view to display the progress view indicator, the error, also when there is no article returned by the API. And currently on the on appear, we have this task, as you can see in here, that will basically invoke store.fetch. Okay, so let's begin the implementation of the task modifier. The first thing that we are going to do is remove this onAppear modifier. And now we simply need to ask the task modifier. So there are several modifiers. The first one is just the task, and the second one with the priority and the action. Action itself is a closure that will run in the async context. And priority is basically telling the priority of this task, whether it's background, user interactive, or user initiated, and any others. So the default value is user initiated. So we are going to use this ID one, which accepts an equatable. So whenever this equatable value changes, it will basically cancel and restart the task, and it will run the closure inside the action that we provide. So here we're going to use this one. Okay, and before that, let's go to the store first and declare the ID for this. So we are going to use var in here. So the task ID, so any equatable value can be provided. For example, UID, or in our example, you just want to use the date for the ID. Okay, so whenever the date got updated, this closure inside this task will got invoked. Okay, so in here we simply pass store.task ID, and priority we just pass user initiated, And then in the action closure, now we can simply trigger or store fetch method. Okay, so this runs in an async context, so we can simply trigger store dot fetch. Okay, as simple as that. And then it will basically run this task when the view before the view appears. Okay, so as you can see here, it works fine. And the next one is to refresh the data. So to do that, we are going to basically use this inside this list. We are going to add a modifier which is refreshable. Okay, so we can pass a closure to trigger a specific code whenever the user perform pull to refresh on the list. Okay, so refreshable, in the refreshable, as simple as just we need to update the ID with the new value. Okay, so in this case we just use self.store.taskID and then just initialize a new date. Okay, so this value will get updated and this closure will be run again. Okay, so one thing that I want to mention regarding this task, so whenever the view disappears before this task got completed, it will be cancelled automatically. Okay, also whenever this value got updated while the task is still running, the existing task will be cancelled and a new start and a new task will be restarted. New task will be initiated. Okay, and now we should be able to test this, but before that, in this footer, I'm just going to add a new text. Okay, and then last page date, I just want to print this date using store.taskid.description. Okay, for the footer. So if you see in here, we have the footer there, and if we perform pull to refresh, it should fetch the data. Okay, if you see for beginners. Okay, so this is just from the stop, and then it's just shuffle the data randomly. Okay, as you can see, it works fine now. This task modifier works perfectly, so whenever before the view appears, it will perform the fetch from the API, and whenever we perform the pull to refresh to update the task ID, it will restart this task, and then basically will fetch from the remote API again. Okay, so this is the power of the task modifier in SwiftUI. And with this, it's very simple to manage the lifecycle on a SwiftUI view, especially when we want to fetch a remote API for this particular view. Okay, so that's it for this short video. Like the video if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for supporting this channel so far. And until the next one, let's keep on being a lifelong learner. Goodbye.